Captain Kim checked his ship's screens one more time. The edge of human space was quiet today. Too quiet. He didn't like it. "Status report," he said to his small crew of 5. "All systems normal, Captain," said Tai, his first officer. "Nothing on scanners." Kim nodded but felt uneasy. 6 years in the Earth Defense Force had taught him to trust his gut, and his gut said something was wrong. "Run a deep scan. Full spectrum," he ordered. Before Tai could start the scan, the ship shook hard. Red lights flashed everywhere. "We're hit," shouted June from the weapons station. "Engines down." Kim grabbed his chair as the ship spun. Through the main window, he saw it. A massive ship, at least 20 times bigger than theirs. It wasn't like any ship he had seen before. "Send distress signal now," Kim yelled. "Communications are dead," said Tai, her face pale with fear. A blue light surrounded their small ship. They were being pulled in. "Prepare for boarding," Kim said, his voice calm despite his racing heart. "Remember your training." The crew grabbed their weapons, but Kim knew they stood little chance. Their ship was a patrol vessel, not a warship. The blue light grew brighter. Then everything went black. Kim woke up with a splitting headache. He was on his knees on a cold floor made of some strange black metal. His hands were tied behind his back. The room was large and filled with creatures of many shapes and sizes. They all looked at him. "The human is awake," said a tall, thin alien with 6 arms. Its voice sounded like rocks grinding together. Kim looked around. His crew was nowhere to be seen. A door opened, and the crowd moved back. A large figure walked in, surrounded by guards. This alien was different. It stood nearly 10 feet tall, with gray skin that seemed to shimmer. 4 yellow eyes stared down at Kim. "So this is a human captain," it said. Its voice was deep and seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Smaller than I expected." Kim tried to stand, but a guard pushed him back down. "You will kneel before Overlord Tech," the guard hissed. Kim glared up at the tall alien. "I am Captain Kim of the Earth Defense Force. I demand to know why you attacked our ship and where my crew is." The room went silent. Then Overlord Tech laughed. The sound made Kim's skin crawl. "It speaks as if it has rights," Tech said to the crowd. "How amusing." Tech walked closer and bent down to look at Kim. "Your kind is new to our galaxy. You have spread quickly, but you are still primitive. You have yet to learn your place." The Overlord straightened up and waved one of his 4 hands. A guard approached with something in his hands. "Your crew has been sent to work in the mines," Tech said. "But you, Captain, will serve a special purpose. You will be a reminder to all that humans are nothing more than clever animals." The guard handed Tech what looked like a metal collar and a chain. "No," Kim said, trying to move away. 2 guards held him still. With a click, Tech fastened the collar around Kim's neck. It was cold and heavy. A small light on it turned green. "Try to remove it, and it will send pain through your entire body," Tech explained. "Try to run, and it will do worse." Tech took the chain, a leash, and pulled it. Kim felt the collar tighten, forcing him to stand and follow. "I will break you, human," Tech said. "And when other humans see their brave captain walking on a leash like a pet, they will understand their future." Kim said nothing, but in his mind, he made a promise. He would endure. He would watch. He would learn. And someday, somehow, Overlord Tech would regret the day he put a collar on a human. Tech pulled the leash again, parading Kim in front of the alien crowd. They pointed and laughed. But they didn't notice the look in Kim's eyes. It wasn't fear. It was determination. 3 days had passed since Kim's capture. He slept on the hard floor of a small room. They fed him strange food that tasted like metal. The collar around his neck felt heavier each day. Guards came early and took him to a large bathing room. They sprayed him with cold water and gave him new clothes, a simple gray outfit with no pockets. "Today you meet your new master," One guard said, "Lady Sue does not like dirty pets." Kim said nothing. He had learned quickly that talking back meant pain from the collar. The guards led him through long hallways. The palace was huge, with high ceilings and strange art on the walls. Other aliens stared as he passed. Some laughed. Kim kept his eyes forward and his back straight. They stopped at a large door with symbols Kim didn't understand. A guard knocked. "Enter," said a clear voice from inside. The room was bright, with large windows showing the city below. Kim had never seen buildings so tall. The planet's 3 suns made everything glow with orange light. A figure stood by the window. She turned, and Kim tried not to show surprise. Lady Sue was much smaller than Overlord Tech, but had the same gray, shimmering skin. Her 4 eyes were bright blue instead of yellow. She wore what looked like military clothes with many badges. "This is the human captain?" she asked, walking around Kim slowly. "Yes, Lady Sue," said the guard. "A gift from Overlord Tech himself." She took the leash from the guard's hand and pulled it gently. Kim moved forward. "Leave us," she told the guards. When they were alone, she dropped the leash and walked to a desk covered with screens and papers. "I have work to do," she said without looking at him. "Stand there and be quiet." Kim stood still and watched her. She moved quickly between screens, typing with 4 hands at once. Hours passed. His legs hurt, but he didn't move. Finally, she looked up. "You're still standing," she said, sounding surprised. Kim nodded once. "Most new servants fall or complain by now." She studied him. "Are you hungry?" Kim nodded again. Lady Sue pressed a button, and a small robot brought in 2 trays of food. She pointed to a spot on the floor near her desk. "Sit. Eat." The food was better than what the guards had given him. There was something like meat and strange blue fruits. Kim ate slowly, watching Lady Sue from the corner of his eye. "Tomorrow there is an important meeting," she said. "You will serve drinks and food. Do not speak unless spoken to. Do not look important people in the eyes. Understand?" "Yes," Kim said, his voice rough from not speaking. "You can talk?" she asked, raising what might have been eyebrows. When allowed, Kim answered. She seemed to think about this. "What is your name?" "Captain Kim of the Earth Defense Force." Lady Sue laughed. It wasn't cruel like Tech's laugh. "You are not a captain anymore, just Kim now." She returned to her work. Kim finished eating and stayed sitting on the floor, watching and listening. Late that night, Lady Sue stood and stretched her 6 limbs. "Time to sleep," she said. She pointed to a small mat in the corner. "That is yours." It was better than the hard floor of his cell. Kim nodded thanks. As Lady Sue prepared for bed, Kim noticed something interesting. She removed a small device from her pocket and placed it on her desk. It looked like a control panel. When she pressed it, the light on Kim's collar blinked. Kim pretended not to notice, but his mind was working fast. That small device controlled his collar, and Lady Sue was not as careful with it as Tech had been. For the first time since his capture, Kim felt a small spark of hope. He just needed to watch, wait, and learn more. And Lady Sue, without knowing it, might be his first chance at freedom. A week had passed since Kim began serving Lady Sue. He followed her to meetings, carried her things, and stood quietly while important aliens talked about war plans and trade routes. No one paid attention to him. They saw only a human pet with a collar. But Kim was listening, learning, remembering. Today, Lady Sue took him to the grand hall where Overlord Tech met with his generals. Kim carried a tray of drinks, moving slowly between groups of aliens. His eyes stayed down, but his ears worked well. "More drinks for the Tech table," Lady Sue ordered, pointing to a group in the corner. Kim walked carefully to the table where 4 aliens worked on a large round screen. Maps of star systems floated above it. One alien, tall with green skin, was pointing at a planet. The humans have no idea we found their colony here, the green alien said. We can attack next month. Kim almost dropped his tray. They were planning to attack New Terra, a human colony with 10,000 people. Careful, pet, a voice said next to him. Kim turned and saw another human, holding a tray of food. This human wore the same gray outfit and collar. He was older with gray hair and tired eyes. Follow me, the old human whispered. Kim followed him to a quiet corner where they pretended to arrange drinks. I'm Dr. Jin, the old man said, speaking very quietly. Don't react. Don't look around. Just listen. Kim nodded slightly. You're not alone. There are 23 of us in the palace. We pass messages. We listen. We learn. My crew? Kim asked, barely moving his lips. 2 alive. In the lower mines. The others didn't survive. Kim felt both sad and angry, but kept his face calm. Tonight, check behind the waste unit in your room. There will be something for you. Jin moved away quickly as a guard looked their way. That night, after Lady Sue fell asleep, Kim quietly searched behind the waste unit in his small bathroom. His fingers found a small metal object taped there. It was a tiny earpiece, smaller than his fingernail. Kim waited until the next day when Lady Sue took him to the garden. While she met with other officers, he pretended to fix his shoe and slipped the earpiece into his ear. Can you hear us? A voice said in his ear. Yes, Kim whispered. Good. I'm Han, ex-pilot. Now I dance for Tech's friends. They think it's funny. I'm Kim. We know. Jin saw you yesterday. You're with Lady Sue. That's good. She's important. What's happening? Why are we talking? We're building something, Han said. Jin was a top engineer before they caught him. He's working on their weapons but has his own project too. Kim stood up as Lady Sue waved him over. I have to go, he whispered. Listen tonight. 3rd shift. We'll tell you more. For the next few days, Kim learned about the human network. Jin had been there longest. 3 years. He worked in the tech labs where they built weapons. Han had been a fighter pilot before being shot down 6 months ago. There were others. Engineers, soldiers, even a teacher. They had created a secret way to talk through the palace systems. They shared what they learned. They waited for a chance to do something. Tech thinks we're stupid animals, Han told Kim during a late-night talk. But we see everything. We know about the defense grid weakness. We know his ships have a flaw in their engines. Can we send a message to Earth? Kim asked. Not yet, Jin's voice answered. But I'm working on something, using parts from our collars. Kim thought about this. Our collars, they're not just for control, are they? They must have tech in them. Smart man, Jin said. These collars have transmitters, receivers, and power cells. With the right changes, they could become something else. Kim finished. Exactly. But we need help from outside. And we might have found it. Who? Kim asked. Lady Sue has been asking questions. About humans. About Earth. She seems different from the others. Kim remembered how Lady Sue treated him. Not kindly, but not cruelly either. I'll watch her more closely, Kim promised. Good, Jin said. Because we think she might be our best chance. Find out what she really thinks of tech. Kim looked across the garden, where Lady Sue was talking with another officer. For the first time, he saw her not as his captor, but as a possible ally. The network was growing. And with it, hope. 2 weeks had passed since Kim joined the human network. Each day, he listened and watched. Lady Sue took him to more important meetings. No one paid attention to the human with the collar. That was their first mistake. Today was different. Lady Sue seemed nervous as she dressed in her best uniform. Overlord Tech is coming here, she told Kim, to see my work on the new defense plans. Kim kept his face blank, but his heart beat faster. This was the first time he would see Tech since his capture. You will serve drinks and say nothing, Lady Sue ordered. Tech does not like when pets make noise. An hour later, Overlord Tech arrived with 6 guards. He filled the room with his size and power. His yellow eyes barely looked at Kim. "Lady Sue," Tech said, "show me what you have done." Lady Sue led Tech to her large desk with many screens. She showed maps and plans, speaking quickly about defenses and weapons. Kim moved quietly, serving drinks. No one looked at him. No one thought he could understand their words. That was their second mistake. "The new defense grid has one problem," Lady Sue said. "The main control node must be reset every 30 days. During the reset, there is a 5-minute window where it is vulnerable." Tech waved one of his 4 hands. "No one knows this but us, and no one can reach the control node. It is deep in our space, on Moon Base Delta." Kim kept his face still, but his mind worked fast. This was important information. He needed to remember everything. Tech walked to the window, looking out at the city. "The human planets will be ours soon. They have good resources we need." "Are they a real threat?" Lady Sue asked. Tech laughed. "They have some technology, yes, but they are divided. They fight among themselves. They cannot stand against us." That was his biggest mistake. Later that night, Kim whispered into his hidden earpiece, "Jin, are you there?" "Here," came the quiet reply. "What happened?" Kim told Jin everything he had heard about the defense grid, its weakness, and Moon Base Delta. "This is exactly what we needed," Jin said, his voice excited. "Now listen carefully. I've made changes to your collar." "What changes?" "I can't explain fully. The short version is I've added a small device that can record and send information through Tech's own communication system. They never check the collars because they think the technology is too complex for us to understand." Kim smiled in the dark. More mistakes by Tech. "How do I use it?" he asked. "There's a small bump on the back of your collar. Press it 3 times quickly when you hear something important. It will record and send to me." The next day, Lady Sue took Kim to a large meeting room. Many high-ranking aliens sat around a table. Tech sat at the head. Kim stood against the wall with other servants, both human and alien. The meeting was about the planned attack on human colonies. Kim listened carefully. "The humans have no idea we can see their ships from our cloaked stations," one general said. "They think their patrol routes are secret." Kim pressed the back of his collar 3 times. "Their main fleet is gathered near Earth," another alien said. "They have left their outer colonies with minimal defenses." Press 3 times. "We attack in 15 days, Tech announced. "The human mining colonies first, then their agricultural worlds." Press 3 times. After the meeting, Lady Sue seemed troubled. In her room, she paced back and forth. "Is something wrong?" Kim asked carefully. She looked at him, surprised that he spoke without being spoken to. But instead of punishing him, she sighed. "This war with humans, it feels wrong," she said. "Tech says your kind is dangerous and must be controlled. But I have watched you. You are not what he says." Kim took a risk. "What does he say we are?" Lady Sue looked at him for a long time. "He says you are animals. Clever animals who pretend to be civilized." "And what do you think?" Kim asked. "I think," Lady Sue said slowly, "that Tech has made a mistake." Kim felt hope rise in his chest. Maybe, just maybe, they had found their ally. 3 days after the big meeting, Lady Sue acted strangely. She checked her room for listening devices and spoke less than usual. She watched Kim with curious eyes. That night, she called Kim to her private study. "Follow me," she said, not using his leash for the first time. "And be silent." They walked through dark hallways that Kim had never seen before. Lady Sue used special cards to open doors. Finally, they entered a small room with no windows. "We can talk here," she said. "No one can hear us." Kim stood straight, no longer pretending to be just a servant. "Why did you bring me here?" Lady Sue's 4 eyes blinked slowly. I know you are sending information to other humans. I have detected unusual signals from your collar. Kim's heart sank. He was caught. Do not worry, she said, seeing his face. I have not told anyone. Why not? Kim asked. Lady Sue sat down, suddenly looking tired. Because I believe tech is wrong. About humans. About many things. She touched her own neck. My people, the Nari, once wore collars too. 200 years ago, Tech's people conquered us. Made us serve them. Most have forgotten, but some of us remember. Kim was shocked. You were slaves. We were. Now we are equal citizens of Tech's empire. She made a sound like bitter laughter. But no Nari has ever become an overlord. We are always second class. Why are you telling me this? Kim asked. Because I want Tech's empire to fall, she said simply. And I think humans might help make that happen. Kim studied her face. Could he trust her? It might be a trap. If you want to help, he said carefully, prove it. Lady Sue stood up and walked to Kim. Her hands reached for his neck. He tensed, ready to fight. Flick. The collar fell away. Kim rubbed his neck, feeling bare skin where the collar had been for weeks. He could attack her now. Escape, maybe. I could call guards, she said, as if reading his thoughts. Or you could listen to my plan. Kim nodded. I'm listening. Tech plans to attack your colony soon, but he does not know that humans have more ships than he thinks. Hidden ships. Kim kept his face still, but he was surprised. How did she know this? The Nari have spies too, she explained. We know about your fleet hiding in the dust clouds beyond the Ceres belt. Tech's sensors cannot see them there. And if this is true, Kim asked, your hidden fleet could attack when Tech does not expect it. But first, they need to know about the defense grid weakness and the shield codes. She smiled. Which I have. Now Kim understood. You want an alliance. Humans and Nari against Tech. Lady Sue nodded. There are others too. Many species hate Tech, but fear him more. If they saw someone fighting back and winning, they would join us. Kim finished. Yes, but we must move carefully. Tech has many loyal followers and many spies. Kim thought about Jin and the human network. We've been building a communication device. If we could reach the human fleet. I can help, Lady Sue said, but you need to keep wearing this. She picked up the collar. Kim stepped back. Why? Because you must still look like a pet. Like you are no threat. She held out the collar. We will make it looser, and I have disabled the pain function. Kim slowly took the collar and put it back on. It felt different now. Not like a chain, but like a disguise. How many Nari will help us? He asked. At least 30 in the palace. More in the city. We have waited a long time for this chance. Kim smiled for the first time in weeks. Then let's plan our next steps. Lady Sue held out her hand, and what she must have learned was a human greeting gesture. Kim shook it. 2 different species, both treated as less than they were, both ready to fight. The alliance had begun. Kim met with Jin and Han in the lower storage room. Lady Sue had arranged for all 3 to be there, claiming she needed human servants to move heavy boxes. Guards didn't question her orders. I still don't trust her, Han said, looking at the door where Lady Sue stood watch. She removed my collar, Kim said, touching the now harmless device around his neck. And she hasn't reported us. Jin nodded. We need allies. And the parts she brought us are exactly what we needed. On the floor between them lay pieces of technology. Small circuit boards, wires, and power cells, all secretly collected by Lady Sue from the tech labs. Can you build it? Kim asked. Jin's old hands moved quickly, connecting wires. A transmitter strong enough to reach your fleet. Yes, but we need a power source bigger than these small cells. Lady Sue turned from the door. I can get you access to a power junction. For 10 minutes only. That's enough, Jin said, if the calculations are right. For 2 hours they worked. Jin built the device while Kim and Han created a hiding place for it inside an air vent. Lady Sue kept watch. It's done, Jin finally said, holding up a small box with blinking lights. Now we need the codes to break through Tech's communication blocks. Lady Sue handed him a small card. These are today's codes. They change tomorrow. Jin entered the codes into the device. Then we send the message today. Kim thought about what to say. They had one chance to reach the human fleet. One chance to warn Earth about the coming attack. We need to send coordinates, Kim said, for the defense grid control node on Moonbase Delta. And the shield frequencies, Han added. And the attack plans, Lady Sue said. Tech plans to hit the mining colonies in 8 days. Jin typed all this information into the device. His fingers moved slowly, making sure every letter and number was correct. Where will we hide it? Han asked. In the main cooling duct, Lady Sue said, above Tech's own throne room. The irony pleases me. They slipped out of the storage room one by one. Lady Sue first, then Han, then Jin. Kim went last, carrying the device hidden under his servant clothes. The walk to the throne room was the longest of Kim's life. 2 guards nodded at Lady Sue as she passed. They barely looked at Kim following behind her. In here, Lady Sue said, opening a small maintenance door near the throne room. Inside was a narrow passage with pipes running along the ceiling. The cooling duct is through there. Kim crawled through the tight space. The metal was cold against his hands. He found the main duct, a large tube that hummed with energy. Following Jin's instructions, Kim attached the device to the duct. The power from the cooling system would feed the transmitter. He pressed the activation button. 3 small lights turned green. It's working, he whispered as he crawled back to Lady Sue. How long until it sends the signal? She asked. Jin set it for 3 hours from now. During the shift change when there's the most electronic noise to hide it. Lady Sue nodded. Good. Now we must act normal. Very normal. For the rest of the day, Kim followed Lady Sue to meetings. He stood silently against walls. He poured drinks. No one noticed anything different. But inside, Kim was counting minutes. The signal would reach the human fleet. They would know about the attack, about the defense grid weakness, about everything. When night came, Kim lay on his small mat in Lady Sue's quarters. He couldn't sleep. The device should have sent its message hours ago. Had it worked? Had the fleet received it? There was no way to know. Did it work? Lady Sue asked quietly from across the room. We'll find out soon, Kim said. If it worked, the human fleet will move. And if it didn't? Kim looked at the ceiling. Then we try again. And again, until we succeed. Lady Sue was quiet for a moment. You humans don't give up easily, do you? For the first time in weeks, Kim smiled. No, that's one more thing Tech doesn't understand about us. 3 days passed with no sign that the message had reached the human fleet. Kim and the others continued their normal routines. They watched. They waited. On the 4th day, Jin sent a message through the hidden earpiece. It's time. Meet tonight. After Lady Sue fell asleep, Kim slipped out to the meeting place, a small storage room in the lower levels. Jin, Han, and 5 other humans were already there. Lady Sue arrived last with 3 other Nari. Did our message get through? Kim asked immediately. Jin smiled, his old face looking young with excitement. Yes, I received a coded response through the palace communication system. The human fleet got our message. They're coming. Everyone in the room seemed to stand taller. When? Lady Sue asked. Tomorrow, Jin said. They'll attack at the start of 3rd shift. But we need to do our part first. Jin held up a small device that fit in his palm. This is an EMP unit. When activated, It will disable all control collars in the palace. Every human will be free at once. The guards will notice immediately, one of the Nari said. That's why we need a distraction, Kim said. Something big. Lady Sue stepped forward. We can create one. I have access to the main power controls. We can cause a blackout right before the EMP is triggered. That gives us maybe 5 minutes before backup power comes on, Han said. 5 minutes is enough to free our people and get to the command center, Kim replied. They spent the next hour planning every detail. Each person had a job. The humans would free others and gather weapons. The Nari would secure key areas and block guard communications. Remember, Kim told everyone before they left, once this starts, there's no going back. We succeed or we die. No one looked afraid. They had all lived too long under Tech's rule. The next day felt endless. Kim followed Lady Sue as usual. She attended meetings, read reports, and gave orders to her staff. No one could tell she was about to betray Overlord Tech. As evening came, Lady Sue dismissed her other servants early. Only Kim remained in her quarters. Are you ready? She asked. Kim nodded. I've been ready since they put this collar on me. They waited until the shift change began. Guards were changing posts. Staff were moving around. It was the perfect time for confusion. Lady Sue's communicator beeped. It's time, she said. They moved quickly through the palace to the main power room. 2 Nari engineers were waiting, having sent the regular staff on fake errands. All set, one said to Lady Sue. She nodded and looked at Kim. Your turn. Kim pressed his hidden earpiece. Jin, we're in position. Ready, came the reply. EMP charged and ready. Lady Sue took a deep breath and pressed the main switch. The lights went out. The palace went dark. Now Jin, Kim said into his earpiece. Somewhere in the palace, Jin activated the EMP device. Kim felt his collar click and go dead. All around the palace, the same thing was happening to every human slave. The command center, Lady Sue said. Quickly. They ran through dark hallways. Guards were confused, shouting to each other. Emergency lights began to flicker on. They had less time than they thought. At the command center, the doors were locked. One of the Nari engineers used an override code. The doors slid open. Inside, 3 officers turned in surprise. Lady Sue stunned them with her weapon before they could shout for help. Secure the doors, she ordered. Kim, the communications panel is yours. Kim ran to the main control panel. His time as a ship captain helped him understand the alien technology. He quickly locked down all palace communications except for their own secure channel. Jin, Han, report, he said into the system. Lower levels secured, Han's voice replied. 28 humans free and armed. We have control of the weapon storage. Tech section secured, Jin added. Defense systems are under our control. Lady Sue looked at the security screens. The guards are organizing. They'll reach us soon. Kim nodded. They don't matter now. Look. He pointed to a long-range scanner. On the screen, dozens of ships were appearing at the edge of the system. The human fleet had arrived. Send them the shield codes, Lady Sue said. Kim typed quickly, sending the codes that would let the human ships pass through Tech's defenses. A loud alarm began to sound. A message flashed on all screens. ANTURUDER Human ship is DTCT. Lady Sue smiled. Too late, Tech. Far too late. Kim looked at the screens showing the palace interior. Humans and Neri were fighting together against Tech's guards. The uprising had begun. And outside, in space, humanity was coming. The human fleet arrived with perfect timing. 100 ships appeared at the edge of the system. Tech's defense systems sounded alarms throughout the palace. They've reached the outer defense ring, Lady Sue said, watching the screens in the command center. Kim nodded. Now we'll see if those shield codes work. On the screens, the human ships approached Tech's defense line. Red lights flashed as the defense systems tried to target them, but the shields didn't fire. It worked, one of the Nari shouted. The codes worked. Inside the palace, the fighting grew more intense. Tech's loyal guards pushed toward the command center. Han and his group held them back, but they were running out of time. Kim, Han's voice came through the comm. We can't hold them much longer. We need to move now. Understood, Kim replied. Lady Sue, it's time for Phase 2. Lady Sue nodded and sent a signal to all their allies throughout the palace. All units, move to target locations. This is not a drill. Kim looked at the battle map. 23 human ships had broken through the outer defenses and were heading toward the planet. Tech's ships moved to stop them. They're outnumbered, Kim said, worried for his people. But not outmatched, Lady Sue replied. Look, the human ships moved in perfect formation. They were smaller than Tech's ships, but faster. They split into 3 groups, attacking from different angles. Smart, Kim said with pride. They're using the tactics we sent them. Inside the palace, Kim and Lady Sue led their team out of the command center. They needed to reach Tech himself. This way, Lady Sue said, leading them down a hidden passage. It's a service tunnel. It leads to the throne room. As they ran, Kim's earpiece crackled. Kim, it's Jin. We have a problem. What is it? Kim asked, still running. Tech has activated the Doomsday weapon. It's charging up in the main weapons lab. Kim stopped. The Doomsday weapon was Tech's last resort. It could destroy the entire planet. Can you stop it? Kim asked. I'm trying, but I need help. Han is coming with his team, but there are too many guards. Kim looked at Lady Sue. We need to split up. You go to the throne room. I'll help Jin. Lady Sue nodded. Be careful. Kim took 5 fighters and ran toward the weapons lab. The sounds of battle were everywhere. Freed humans fought alongside Nari rebels. Tech's guards were slowly losing ground. When Kim reached the lab, he found Jin working frantically at a control panel. Han and his team were fighting guards at the entrance. The weapon is at 60% charge, Jin said without looking up. If it reaches 100, we all die. Kim looked at the massive machine in the center of the lab. It glowed with energy, getting brighter by the second. How do we stop it? Kim asked. The control panel is locked. I need to override it. But there's another way. Jin pointed to a door. The power core is through there. If someone disconnects it manually, the weapon will shut down. I'll go, Kim said. Jin grabbed his arm. It's a one-way trip. The radiation in that room will kill anyone who enters. Kim hesitated. Then Han pushed past them both. I'll do it, Han said. Han. No. Kim tried to stop him. Han smiled sadly. I've been a slave too long, Kim. Let me do something that matters. Before Kim could stop him, Han entered the power core room and sealed the door behind him. Through the small window, Kim watched as Han fought through the intense radiation. His skin began to burn, but he kept moving. Han reached the main power couplings. With his last strength, he pulled them apart. The Doomsday weapon went dark. Han collapsed to the floor. He did it, Jin whispered. He saved us all. Kim stood silent, honoring his friend's sacrifice. Outside, the battle in space turned in favor of the humans. Tech's ships, confused by contradicting orders, began to surrender one by one. Kim's earpiece came to life. It was Lady Sue. Kim, we've reached the throne room. Tech is cornered, but he won't surrender. I'm on my way, Kim replied. He looked once more at the power room where Han had fallen. Thank you, my friend. Then he turned and ran toward the throne room, toward the final confrontation with Overlord Tech. The battle was almost won, but the war would not be over until Tech himself faced justice. The doors to Tech's throne room exploded inward, Kim and Lady Sue walked through the smoke, followed by 20 fighters, humans, and Nari together. They all carried weapons. Overlord Tech stood by his throne. His yellow eyes burned with anger. 10 guards stood with him, weapons ready. "So," Tech said, his deep voice filling the room. "The pets have learned new tricks." Kim stepped forward. "It's over, Tech. Your fleet is destroyed. Your palace is ours. Your subjects have turned against you." Tech laughed, but it sounded hollow. "You think one battle ends a war. I rule a third of the galaxy. My forces will crush you. Your forces are surrendering all over the planet," Lady Sue said. "The other species you enslaved are rising up. Your empire is falling apart." Tech looked at Lady Sue, his forehands clenching. "Traitor. After all I gave you, you gave me nothing," Lady Sue replied. "My people earned everything through suffering, while you took all the glory." Tech turned to his guards. "Kill them all." But the guards didn't move. One by one, they lowered their weapons. They could see what Tech couldn't, that his time was over. "No one else needs to die today," Kim said to the guards. "Put down your weapons." The guards placed their weapons on the floor. They stepped away from Tech, who now stood alone. "Cowards," Tech shouted. "Not cowards," Kim said, smart enough to know when to stop fighting. Tech reached for a hidden weapon in his robes. Lady Sue fired first, hitting his arm. The weapon fell to the floor. "It's over," Kim repeated, walking toward Tech. For the first time, fear showed in Tech's yellow eyes. "What will you do? Kill me?" Kim shook his head. "No, that would make us like you." He reached into his pocket and pulled out something that made Tech step back, a collar. The same type of collar that had been around Kim's neck for so long. "You wouldn't dare," Tech said. "This isn't for punishment," Kim explained. "This is so everyone can see that your time of power has ended." Tech looked at the collar, then at the fighters surrounding him. Slowly, his shoulders dropped. The fight left his body. Kim approached carefully. Tech was still dangerous, still powerful. But Tech didn't fight as Kim placed the collar around his large neck. The click of the lock closing was loud in the quiet room. "Now," Kim said, "you will face justice for your crimes. Not just against humans, but against all the species you have hurt." Through the broken doors came more people, representatives from a dozen different species. Some Kim recognized, others he didn't. All had suffered under Tech's rule. "A trial," Lady Sue explained, "with judges from every world in your empire." Tech looked around the room, at all the faces watching him. His empire had crumbled in a single day. "Take him away," Kim ordered. Guards led Tech out, not roughly, but firmly. The once mighty overlord shuffled between them, his head down. When Tech was gone, Kim turned to the gathered representatives. "Today marks a new beginning, not just for humans, but for all species who want peace." An older alien stepped forward. "We must form a new council. All species equal, all voices heard." "Yes," Lady Sue agreed. "No more overlords, no more masters and slaves." Kim took off his collar, the one he had worn as a disguise these last days, and dropped it on the floor. No more of these, ever again. Later that day, representatives from 27 species gathered in the Great Hall, where Tech once sat alone. Now a round table stood. Kim sat at that table, next to Lady Sue and others. Human ships orbited above, not as conquerors but as allies. "Captain Kim," someone said, "we should call you Ambassador Kim now." Kim smiled. "Just Kim is fine." He looked around the table at the faces of former enemies now working together. The path ahead would not be easy. Building peace never was. But as Kim looked at the empty throne where Tech once sat, he knew one thing for certain. The collar and leash that were meant to break humanity had instead broken a tyrant. And in its place, something better could now grow. The end.